India, a country known for its diversity, continues to grapple with the complexities of caste, religion, and social justice, particularly in the context of education. The idea of reservation in education is not new, but when it intersects with religion, it ignites debates, emotions, and differing opinions. As India seeks to achieve equality and social justice, the issue of reservation for various communities has been a part of its national discourse for decades. However, one of the most controversial aspects of this policy is religious reservation, which some argue may undermine the principle of unity in diversity that India cherishes. Reservation, also known as affirmative action, is a policy implemented to provide marginalized communities with opportunities in education and employment. In India, it is based on caste, socioeconomic status, and, in some cases, religion. The aim is to uplift historically disadvantaged communities and enable them to access opportunities that they may not otherwise be able to. The Indian Constitution, drafted by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, provides provisions for affirmative action in favor of scheduled castes, SCs, scheduled tribes, STs, and other backward classes, OBCs. However, in recent years, the scope of reservation has expanded to include religious minorities, adding a new layer of complexity to the discussion. The debate around religious reservation in education emerged most prominently in 2006 when the Government of India decided to implement the recommendations of the Ranganath Mishra Commission. The commission suggested that the 15% reservation for Muslims and 5% for other religious minorities be introduced in educational institutions and government jobs. This was based on the premise that religious minorities, particularly Muslims, were socially and economically backward. Proponents of religious reservation argue that it is necessary to address the historical disadvantage faced by certain religious groups. They claim that discrimination and poverty are prevalent in these communities, and that reserving seats in educational institutions for them ensures their equal participation in the nation's progress. Some reasons put forward for the religious reservation include social justice. Many believe that reservation is a tool for uplifting marginalized communities, regardless of whether the marginalization stems from caste or religion. Religious minorities, particularly Muslims, are perceived to have lower access to quality education and employment opportunities compared to other groups. Empowerment of minorities. Supporters argue that religious reservation ensures minorities have a voice in political, academic, and professional spheres. It helps break the barriers of socio-economic inequality that might otherwise persist in a society that is often divided along religious lines. Promoting inclusivity. By providing reservations based on religion, supporters believe that India can better integrate all its communities into the mainstream, making the nation more inclusive. While some see religious reservation as a necessary tool to address inequality, others believe it is a dangerous policy that could sow division in an already pluralistic society. Here are the primary reasons against the introduction of religious reservations in education. Undermines the concept of secularism. India is a secular nation, and the constitution mandates that no person or community should be discriminated against based on religion. The introduction of religion-based reservations goes against this secular foundation and introduces religious identity into educational institutions, something that should ideally be a neutral space. India's secularism is built on the idea of equal treatment for all, regardless of religious affiliation. Unity in diversity. One of the central principles of India's identity is its unity in diversity. The idea that people from all religions, castes, and backgrounds can coexist harmoniously underpins much of India's social fabric. Introducing reservations based on religion could exacerbate existing divisions and contribute to a more fragmented society. Reinforcing religious divides. When religion becomes a factor in policy making, it may lead to the perpetuation of identity politics. Communities could become more entrenched in their religious identities, rather than focusing on their shared commonalities as Indians. This could result in divisive politics and tension between different groups, eroding the national cohesion. Alternative approaches. Focus on poverty and socioeconomic status. Rather than introducing reservations based on religion, many argue that India should focus on poverty and socioeconomic status as the criteria for affirmative action. This would be a more inclusive approach, as people from all religious backgrounds suffer from economic disadvantage. By focusing on income, social status, and access to basic needs, the reservation system could support people in need, regardless of religion, fostering a more egalitarian society. Undue benefit to already privileged groups. Some religious communities, particularly in urban areas, have made significant progress and are not as economically disadvantaged as others. For instance, the Muslims in big cities such as Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru are relatively well off compared to rural or impoverished Muslims. When religious-based reservations are introduced, it might end up benefiting the already privileged segments of these communities, instead of those who genuinely need help. A more equitable approach to reservation would be to base the policy on poverty and economic disadvantage, rather than religion. Poverty does not have religious boundaries, and all communities, regardless of their religious background, include people who struggle to make ends meet. By providing educational reservations based on economic need, India can foster inclusivity without dividing people along religious lines. Economic background over religious identity. By making reservation policies based on economic background, we ensure that the focus is on those who are truly disadvantaged, regardless of their faith. This avoids reinforcing the idea that some religions are inherently more disadvantaged than others. Social cohesion. When reservations are based on income or socioeconomic status, the focus shifts from religion to helping those who are genuinely in need. This reduces the possibility of reinforcing divisive narratives based on religion and ensures that the policy remains inclusive. Prevents political exploitation. Religious reservations are often manipulated for political gain. Political parties may use religion-based reservation to curry favor with certain communities, leading to a politicization of religion. If reservation policies were based on poverty or economic need, this political manipulation could be avoided. While the idea of reservation in education is aimed at promoting social equality, religious reservations may inadvertently sow division and undermine India's commitment to secularism. To move forward, it is essential to rethink the reservation system. Rather than dividing people by religion, a more unified approach would be to base reservations on poverty and economic disadvantage. This would allow for a more inclusive, fair, and equitable system, promoting social justice without alienating or discriminating against any group. India's strength lies in its diversity, and the best way to preserve that diversity is by fostering an inclusive society where opportunities are not determined by religion, but by the individual's needs and aspirations. A reservation system based on socioeconomic status could achieve this vision, allowing all communities to thrive together as part of a unified, secular nation.